All right, YouTube, what we're going to do today is we're going to do a video on this whip finish tool. Best way to learn how to do it is put a jig in the vise. Start out with 16th or 8th ounce. Let's wrap that jig head just like you got your Chanel, you got your feathers, you got your rubber legs on there, whatever you got. And then we're just going to practice on this jig head. The best way to do it is just keep doing it until you learn it. It's one of those tools where it looks tricky, but it's nowhere near as tricky as what most people make it out to be. And once you get it, you get it. You can do it with your eyes closed. You can do it with your hand tied behind your back. It's a fairly simple tool. There's just a technique to it. The first thing you're going to do is start out with the hook. And you're going to hook that thread just like that. Take the top of your hook, about an inch underneath your jig head, and catch it. Now the second part you're going to do is you're going to start bringing it up over top that loop. You're going to get your hand to where you're just about even with the back end of that hook. And then you're going to let your whip finish tool rotate until you end up with this triangle. Now you're going to start by going over the head and keeping it under the eye of the jig head. And to get a good notch, you're going to do about 3, 4, or 5 loops. Then when you get done, you're going to pull your thread back up here tight. Well, let me start it over. I'm doing it from the other side and it's making it kind of awkward. Pull your loop out. Pull your thread till you get the hook up to the top of your jig head. Pop it out and you're done. Let's do it again because I didn't make that look very smooth. I kind of got the camera sitting right in front of my face and it's making it a little bit more difficult to do. Your whip finish tool has got a joint in it right here. It makes it rotate. So when I start, I hold on to that joint to kind of lock it down. So that way it's not going to move on me. Take your whip finish tool, start out with the hook right here. Pull your thread. Come up over this loop. And then you're going to let go of that joint and let it roll back this way. And you're going to end up with this V, triangle. Once you got that triangle, you got it in the right spot. So you're going to start with pulling your thread over the back of the head. Loop number 1. Loop number 2. 3. 4. And 5. That's what I always do for a good knot. 5 loops. You're going to pull it forward. Snap it out of that loop part of your whip finish tool. Pull your thread back up. Pull it out. Just like that. Let's tighten it down. Let's do it again, and then we will tie a jig in the vise. And that way you can kind of see how I make sure my Chanel is tied down good. Hold on to the ball of joint. Lock it down tight. Hook your thread in. Pull your thread up over top that loop. Now you're going to let go of the joint as you're kind of pushing it down. And you're going to bring it up and make that V, or the triangle. When you got that triangle, you're going right. Now you're going to slip it over the back of the head. You see that knot right there at the head forming. Make sure your one thread down here on the bottom is staying right there by your eye. When you're done with it, flip it back out. Pull it back up tight. That's the whip finish tool. It's tricky, but like I said, once you get it, you get it. So let's put a jig in. Let's put a different jig head in, and let's tie one up, and that way you can kind of see how I'm tightening down my thread. Let's do let's do a white one. The black thread, usually if I'm doing a solid white jig, my black thread, I would use white thread. I kind of like to camouflage mine just a little bit. So again, we've got, this time I got an 1/8 ounce white jig head in. So when I start, always put my base on. I don't think it's really completely necessary, but I've got my way I tie my jigs, and other people got other ways, but that just seems like what works for me. So we're going to start out with our thread right at our head. We're going to have about 2-3 inches of thread hanging out in this hand. Start wrapping your thread on, and I pull the tag in backing up. I go back up to the head and stop. Then I'm going to trim that tag end off. So this jig, let's do a solid white. Let's go with all white in this. We're going to use a rubber skirt on it, and this is what I use for my tail material. Sometimes I get it in bulk and I get like this all in one big strand, but you can go to most fishing stores. Bass Pro has them. It's actually for like spinner baits, bass jigs. I pull out about the length of the shaft of the hook and about 3/4 more of that length. So you're going like, let's say 1.5 inches probably. I'm going to cut that off. I'm going to push that all the way around. You can see how I got some on the bottom, I got some on the top. And we're going to make our first couple loops kind of loose. Make sure we got it situated, make sure it's underneath the head like I want it to be. So that way it's all around the hook. It's not just off one side of the hook. It's not just, you know, it's completely surrounded it. So once I know I got it right, the way I want it, now I'm going to start putting the tight loops on it. Going down to the tip of the hook, all the way back up to the head. Now sometimes on those rubber legs, you get these little pieces here that come out. And if you're using, say you're using a black body, sometimes those little pieces right there will show up through that black. So I'm trying to pick that out, and it's tied in there tight, so just reach in there and pick them out. So that's the base part of our jig. So now we're going to go to the chenille, and we're going to use a white chenille on it. And since I can still go a little bit heavier on that body, I'm going to start that chenille up at the head of the jig. And wrap it all the way back up to the head. All right. Now, I'm going to take my chenille. And you can watch the pressure in the jig head. You can see I'm wrapping it in there kind of tight. I'm keeping my loops close together, making sure the next one just barely overlaps that one, or it's pushed right up against it. So I get up here to the head of my jig. Now what I want to do is I want to get the chenille on that side of my thread. So I'm going to pull it down tight, and I'm going to take my thread and I'm going to tie that piece down. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to reverse it back over again. And then I'm going to tie it down one more time. Probably 3 or 4 wraps right here. Give it a good tight tug. Cut your chenille off. And then back to the whip finish tool. Pull out about 4 or 5 inches of thread. Take your hook. Loop it right in there. Pull it over top the loop of the whip finish tool. Come up a little bit. Let go of the ball. Let it rotate itself around. Bring it up to the head. Make a triangle. Once you got your triangle, you're on the right path. You're getting there. Push it down against the head of the jig. And as I'm pulling down with the whip finish tool, I'm letting the thread go up. So that way I'm giving it enough room to keep making that loop. I'm going to pop it out. Pull it up. And pull it back out. A lot of times I will do a double finish, a double knot on my jigs. Let's do it again. Loop it in the thread. Pull it over top the loop with the whip finish tool. Let go of the ball. Let it rotate. There's your triangle. Slip it over the head. Pop it out. Pull it up nice and tight. Pull your whip finish tool out. Give it a good tug. Make sure you know you're in there getting tight. Take your scissors. Get up in there and cut it out real close. Just like that. And that is how I use the whip finish tool. How I tie my jigs. And I've changed a lot. My process has changed a lot ever since I started tying. Sometimes I find something that works a little bit better and I start doing it. That's how that jig come out. It's not hard. Don't make it out to be any harder than what it is. It's kind of rewarding. Tie your own jigs. Go out, catch fish. But that is my video on my whip finish tool. I've got other videos in there and I don't know if I've done them like this where I'm actually on the side where I tie it. I think I've done it before where my camera's sitting from the other side and you kind of got to watch it and do it backwards. But this to me, you know, and other people might know other ways to use whip finish tool, but this is what works for me. I watched a lot of YouTube videos myself before I figured it all out, but it is that tool that once you get it, you get it. You won't forget it. You can do it with your eyes closed. Don't let this tool freak you out. But that is all I got. Thought I'd make a video on that whip finish tool since some people have asked me about it. I got nothing else to do at 2:30 in the morning, so there you go, YouTube. Questions? You need to see me do it again? Let me know. Send me a message. Respond to this video. I've got no problems if somebody wants to see it again. That's all I got, YouTube. Like, share, subscribe, hit that bell. Go to my Facebook page, Eric Massey Jig Company. Saturday, I am giving away that Christmas tree full of jigs. And I think there's 22, 23 of them on there. All you got to do is go to my Facebook page, find the post about that jig tree. Guess how many pieces of candy are in this jar? First one to get it right without going over, I will send you all those jigs. But that is all I got. I'm getting off here. I got a few more jigs to tie up for somebody else. Have a good one, YouTube. See ya.